and we'll check the audio. We're live.
Is it a test?
Yeah, it's a live test.
No, it's more like talk. Hey!
Oh, we want to, well, okay. We can
Hey,
do that.
everybody!
Here we go.
You want to sound like heaven? How about, what was the song they used to do? Bing bang, we can ride bing bang.
No,
bing,
it doesn't
bang,
work
bang,
though.
Bing bang bang.
If you do that, how are we gonna know?
Oh, that's right.
There you go. Okay. Here we go. This looks like us, right?
Wing bang,
Sound all right? Okay, and we're live. Go, take it away. What do you
Oh,
think?
that's my word.
Yeah, well, it has to be. Otherwise, how do we know? Okay. Well, let me turn this on. Let's turn this quiet now. Okay, what are we playing? What do you got on the first on the?
Oi, why?
Yo, why? Yo,
Oi, why did he do?
Why? Yo, why?
Oh,
Go. Where's the tambourine?
Slide it over.
There we go. Slide it up. There we go. Hey, oh, I did it, oh, I did it, I did it, I did it, oh, I Hey, did it, oh, I did it, I did it, I Hey, oh, I did it, oh, I did it, I did it, I did it, oh, I did it, hey, did it, I did it, oh, Hey, I did it, oh, my, oh, I did it, oh, my, Hey, yo, I did it, Hey, yo, I did it, I did it, I did it, Hey, did it, I did it, I did it, Hey, I did it, oh, you know, did it, Oh, you know, did it, Hey, la la, my la la, oh, you know, did it, my Hey, yo, you know, yeah, my la la, hey, la, yeah, you did it, hey, oh, you la, my la, you did it, hey, la, you did it, hey, la, oh, you la, hey, la, oh, you la, oh, you la, hey, la, ah, oh, you la, I am, oh.
Hey kids, what time is it?
Time for Gezintahait Street.
It is time for Gezintahait Street, and the story tonight is entitled Hashem is My Helper. And it's about an amazing miracle that occurred when the previous Rebbe was in jail in Stalinist Russia for revolutionary activities. And our Rebbe relates a great wonder that took place while the previous Rebbe was under arrest. It was a miracle which was not apparent at the time it happened. But after reflecting on those events, our Rebbe says, we can see something occurred which was completely higher than nature. It occurred in nature, but it was higher than nature. As soon as the news of the previous Rebbe's arrest spread around, dozens of Jews began working towards his release. They sent and even signed letters asking government officials for their assistance in releasing the Rebbe. And they also visited those officials who were in charge of the Rebbe's fate, and they tried to influence their decision openly. Now, to get an idea of the atmosphere that was going on then, completely innocent people were being arrested and sent to Siberia. Completely people that had nothing to do with politics or religion. And here is the Rebbe who was doing everything he could to fight against the oppression of the Soviet government against the Jewish religion. And all of their efforts of these people were done knowing the draconian and paranoid nature of the government. The previous Rebbe's Hasidim in particular were closely monitored by the secret police for any sign of rebellion. And for their part, the Jews who worked to save the Rebbe knew that they were being watched and their movements were being documented. Nevertheless, we see a wondrous thing. Not one of those Jews was harmed. Not in body, not in soul, and not in their money and their livelihoods were affected. True, our sages say that those who are involved in mitzvahs are protected from harm. In this case, however, these Jews knowingly went into great danger, which typically negates the protection offered to one who's doing a mitzvah. The wonder is even greater in light of the reality that both before the arrest and after his release, many connected to the Rebbe were ferociously persecuted by the government. So this is the miracle that these people worked for the release of the Rebbe, even though they exposed themselves to the government. Nothing was done to them. Furthermore, their going unscathed was an even greater miracle than the unexpected freedom of the previous Rebbe. The previous Rebbe getting out from Stalin's government was a big miracle. Once they had him, forget it. His release was apparently connected to natural means, pressure on the government from both inside and outside of Russia. But according to any rational consideration, those who petitioned the high officers in person should have been arrested, or even worse. On a spiritual level, the release of the Rebbe was connected to the fact that he gave himself, his body, and his life away to spreading Torah and mitzvahs. And as well as the merit of his ancestors, the Rebbes who came before him. Still, his release came only after the pain of prison, torture, and exile. But among the Jews who worked for his release were those who didn't devote their lives to Torah. They weren't even religious. They even included people who are not observant at all. It's possible that the Rebbe either brought about or explained or both their amazing protection when he said a mimer immediately after being informed of his imminent release. And the Hasidic discourse, he said, began with the verse from King David's Psalms, Havaya, the ineffable name that's spelled a yud and a hey and above and a hey, is my helper. That was the beginning of the discourse. And this appears to imply that I have many helpers, and Havaya is one of them. But really, there is nothing other than Hashem, who helps in every respect. Through this, the previous Rebbe ruled legally he made it sucked in this discourse that all those who helped him should be saved, not through the Rebbe's merit, nor from their own merit, but through the one who is alone, from Hashem. And the reason is that their efforts did not involve, the reason they could get off from any kind of consequences, their efforts did not involve logic or weighing consequences. So the assistance they received was from a source beyond logic, which is Hashem. And such a unification is impossible to reach by natural means, only through complete self-sacrifice. That's what these people did. They sacrificed themselves to try to save the Rebbe. And that's what got them out of trouble, because they were able to connect straight with Hashem. So really, they never put themselves in a position where they would need a miracle to be saved. Rather, their actions were the manifestations of the name of Vayechi, the name which indicates Hashem's transcendent over nature. Accordingly, one might assume that they deserve no reward. After all, they didn't do anything special in reality. They just gave themselves away. So you would think they shouldn't get a reward for going into danger. God forbid. Because the assistance they provided the Rebbe was truly from Hashem. But the Holy One, Hashem, does not hold back the reward for any of his creatures. And certainly not the reward due to those who put their lives in line to free the Rebbe. Jews have free choice. And when they choose to help the Rebbe, they become helpers. And therefore, they receive the reward for their help. We also have a Rebbe, and we're able to help our Rebbe without putting ourselves in danger. So why shouldn't we do it? It's a matter of loving another Jew, doing something good for another Jew, helping him to do a mitzvah, teaching him an aleph if he doesn't know one. Therefore, they receive the reward for their help. And this does not contradict the fact that the ultimate helper is Hashem himself. When he shined through and revealed himself through these helpers. As a result, they not only escaped harm by helping the Rebbe, they also received the reward. In the end of the discourse, the Rebbe revealed that his real helpers were the sparks he redeemed from exile. They are the true helpers of a person. Each good deed a person does acquires for him a helping angel. And just as his students, whom he chose and who chose him, became his helpers and are considered his children, in the same way, these spiritual helpers are also considered his students and children. We want Mashiach now.
Amen. Amen. Valerie, what do you got?
What's the meaning in English of those lyrics?
It means there is nobody besides God, and the other part in English is ay 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 ay.
That part I remember.
You know, you remember that part, right?
Remember, Label told us his son was in the shower singing the song. And he's singing, yet, Nikovo, Russian words. Okay.
Okay. And
You
now,
have the file there?
yeah, now
I
for the
just
Chassidus.
let me just introduce what's going on. Gimel Elef took a snow day. He said he's very old and he's afraid of slipping on the ice and breaking his hip. So therefore he'll be back next week. So tonight, Mendel is going to go over and review what we had last week, which is you are one, your name is one, and your people is one people in the world.
I think what he actually said was he was too hip to break a hip.
Too hip.
Okay, so it says, this is from a mimer from the Friedrich Rebbe from...
No, it's the Rebbe's mimer.
The Rebbe's mimer.
Explaining the Friedrich
Explaining for the mimer of Teskis. So it says in Mincha and Shabbos, say, Ato Echad v'Shimcha Echad, Mika Amchi Yisrael Yech B'Aretz.
Mincha on Shabbos means the afternoon prayer that we say on Shabbos. And it says that thing, you're one, your name is one, and your people is the one people in the
Mincha is
world.
also the meal offering in the Beis Mikdash.
Yeah, it was the meal, yeah.
Well, that was in the afternoon, so
Right,
this
yeah.
prayer is in a substitute for
Yeah.
that.
So it says in this prayer, Ato Echad, you are one, Shimcha Echad, your name is one, Umika Amcha Yisrael, and who is like your nation Israel, Goy Echad Ba'aretz, one nation on the land and on the earth. Now we know it also says where does it use the term one Echad is also by the creation of the world. Vayi erev vayi baiker yoim echad, and it was the evening and it was the morning of day one. But which of course we know that when it talks about this was one of several days. There were more days to come after. So this is an interesting term to use when we're talking about Hashem, because Hashem is Yochid. He's the only. He's not one. He's not just one, and there's others, or even one that's made up of parts. But rather, there's nothing besides for him. He is the one and only. He is Yochid.
So the obvious question, then why do we
say
call
he's
him
one?
Echad? Why do we call him one that's a combination rather than one that's alone?
Now this question extends to the people of Israel also, because the Jewish people are not one of his children. It's his Ben Yochid, his only child. So why does it say about Israel, Goy Echad, one nation? Because this is a nation that's like an only son. So this is, like a parents who have an only son. It's not just they love him more than the other sons. It's a total and absolute love. Yeah, So why does it say, the question is the same. Why does it say Goy Echad, one nation? So the Mincha starts Echad and not Yachid. What does it mean Mincha starts Echad and not Yachid?
No, I think what he wants to say is that the Mincha prayer of Shabbos in general, expresses a level of revelation of godliness that's higher than being connected to worlds. Like on Shabbos, we don't cook, we don't turn on lights, because we're higher than the nature of the world completely. And Shabbos in general illustrates that, and particularly Mincha on Shabbos is a special illustration of that. And the third meal that we eat is a meal where it's higher than eating. A lot of people don't even eat at that meal.
Yeah. Oh, yes, there's another question.
Especially in Mincha Shabbos, you should see Yachid, because it does not connect it to outside at all.
And we know that Echad, on the other hand, is the unity of details. Like when we have one person. A person is made up of parts. He's not just one simple unity, but rather he's made up of parts. However, Yochid is a higher unity than this. It's a unity that's higher than details. Just like we know that the Yechida of the soul, the highest level of the soul, which is just like Yechida is similar to Yochid, it's a simple power. It doesn't the individual powers are not yet defined there. Even though they come out of the Yechida, and we have to say in some way they're included in there, but they're not in there as any separate sort of parts. Rather, it's one simple unity. And Hashem is, we say by Shema Yisrael, Hashem is one.
We don't say he's the
right,
only
Shema
one.
Yisrael, you're Israel, right? We say he's one. But we don't say he's Yochid either.
Right.
Right? Why? Because this is him as he relates to creation.
Oh, so that's a hint why we say in Mincha that he's one.
Meaning once we understand why we say by Shema Echad, that he relates
That
to creation, and therefore there's
that there is a superiority over this combination of parts one, over the unique one.
There's something even greater than the Yochid. Wow. Okay, so therefore after creation, he is one. As opposed to alone, because now it's a creation.
One in the heavens and the earth and the four directions.
Yeah. And there's the three. Yeah, that's the three levels, right? From Echad. Echad is made out of three letters: Aleph, which is the numerical equivalent of 1, and Ches, which has the numerical equivalent of 8, and Dalet, which has the numerical equivalent of 4. That he is one. He is Echad in the 7 heavens and the earth. That's the Ches, the 8, 7 heavens and earth. And he is one in all 4 directions. That's the Dalet, Echad. And they are all nullified to this Aleph, which is the first letter of Echad, which is one.
The one.
Yeah. And this is Havaya Echad and not Havaya Yochid. Not the only, but rather one.
Because there wouldn't be a heaven and earth, it was the only.
Yeah. Because the world, even though it's completely unified in Hashem, but the world has many particular parts of it. So that was the explanation why we say in Shema, why we say Echad and not the other.
And you see a superiority in there because that's what Hashem wants to be
He wants,
unified
especially
in the
there
world.
should be that he should be down in the world. He should have a dwelling place down here. Now, but infinite light, that the light, which is a light higher than the created worlds,
That's the
but it's not
Yod.
Echad, that's Yachid.
Yeah.
That one alone, Yachid, is out of the range of any outside existence whatsoever. So still the question remains, because after all, isn't he alone? Especially Mincha of Shabbos, the afternoon of Shabbos, it's known that the final hour of Shabbos is a time of great, great revelation of godly light, and it's a revelation of his infinite light, which is from higher than the worlds. Meaning that even on Shabbos itself, which is so holy, but Mincha in the last hour is the greatest relation, the greatest revelation, even from the whole Shabbos. That it's the revelation of the Ein Sof, the desire of all desires. That it's the essential tainug, the essential pleasure of Hashem that is not felt, higher than food and drink. That's why in Chabad, by the third meal, we don't eat physical food. We learn Chassidus and we sing Nigunim because because the revelation from that time is higher than physicality. So unlike the rest of Shabbos where we rejoice with food and drink, on the third Shabbos meal in Chabad anyway, we do not eat the physical meal. Now the prayer of Shabbos, in that case, since it's higher than creation connection to the world, so the question remains: it should be Yachid, the only one, and not Echad, one. Now with the Jewish people, it's similar because they have the source of the soul, the source of the Jewish soul, is in Hashem's essence, and there's no other existence besides for Hashem and the Jews.
As the Jews are rooted in His essence.
So this is why it says
That's
the Jews, the Kadmal Olam, is that they became before the world. They're prior to the world.
No, he said you can't say the
You
Jews
can't say they're prior to the
are
world.
prior to the world, because when you say prior to the world has a significance. But in the level where the Jews are
meaning
rooted
if it's before the
there
world,
is no
there's
world at
right.
all. They're
Right,
not
it's like
prior to a world.
saying the first day, that the first day has to be a second day.
Right.
So if they're before the world, there has to be a world. Got it. So they're higher than this in their essence, but then any connection to the world at all.
It's just us with Hashem.
Yeah. But even though the Jews are essentially higher and separate from the world, they do descend to the world to perfect and purify this physical world.
As Shakespeare would say, there's the rub.
And this, this level, the
Descending
world,
to the world.
that the Jews are connected to when they're descending to the world, then they become connected to the world. But really, in essence, Jews are higher than creation, because, like it says, right? It says that that bereshis b'shvil reshis, that the reason He created the world was for the first.
Rashis.
Yeah, was also Beis
The
Reshis,
Jews
right?
and the Torah.
Yeah, the Torah and the Jews, which both came before the world. So, in that level, you can say that they're echad because they descend into the world. So the Jews in the world, when they're in the world, so by what is it, by comparison to the other nations?
There is a comparison.
Right, there's a comparison.
There is the Jewish nation
and the other
then
nations.
the other nations.
The nations. That by the Jewish people, the mission of purification of the nations and the world, so there's an elevation of the world through this.
So there's a significance to the other things.
And therefore they're echad, they're one, because they have a relation to the world.
Even though they're the one, there's a two and a three.
Yeah. And so meaning that because there's you can count, because there's other nations, so they're the first nation of all the nations. Because after that's a two, And the other nations are counted also, even if they're secondary as an existence, but through them
So-
the Jews are elevated.
So there you see the Jews are not a Yochid, but they're an Echad.
Right, they're an echad, they're one because there's other numbers to count yet. Just like the first day of creation, it was the first day to the rest of the days. It's higher than the rest of the days, but it's still in the count of the days, so it's one. It's day one.
Echad.
Yeah. You can have a niggin.
Yeah, open the center to where the bookmark is.
Oh, whoa,
Whoa.
boy.
Whoa!
Woohoo!
Elegant!
Oh.
I think we can do it in real pitch this time.
Is that what you want me? Yeah. Devei malka begilufin ayam Devei malka begilufin Tevu lachado b'yavai vado Ay b'gavayirin b'chol garifin Ay Bechel basad zera nepi Hey la ra ya la ram, la ra ya la ram, la ra ya la ram. Hare yashto emin khoso bechad vasad zeiran vilam mama bechad vasad yizer an pi.
And that Nugan expresses the special thing of the afternoon time of Shabbos when Hashem's essential pleasure in his own essence is revealed. Like we said about the time of Mincha of Shabbos.
Okay, weiter an the Chassidus. So, the Maimer calls the Jewish people the only son. Not just a son, but an only son.
Not with siblings.
Yeah. That his love for the Father and his Father's love for him is great and exclusive, incomparable to the love for a son who is among others. This metaphor illustrates how the Jewish people are the only son of the unique one. That the love of Hashem for the Jews and their love for him is special, unique, and incomparably greater than to other peoples. So even when they are in the world, meaning even when they're not just in the level of soul that's above the sentinel world, they actually descended literally into the world, then this love for each other is special and unique, even down here in this world. So how then can they be counted among the other peoples? And they should be called, therefore, Yochid, Goy Yochid, not Goy Echad, not one, but unique. However, he slugs up the metaphor. How do you counters the metaphor? It's actually almost more like he destroys
Untangles
the metaphor. Yeah. Why? Because really, parents, they love all kids equally. Meaning, even if they have 2 kids, it's like they're 2 only kids. If they have 3 kids, they're 3 only kids. What's the story? You remember there's a story about
From Rabbi Schwartz.
Yeah.
Who said when he had his first kid, he had complete love for that kid. And he didn't know if he'll have a second kid, if he'll be able to have any love, but sure enough, he had a second kid, and a new love jet opened up in his heart. And he had a third one, and a new love jet opened up in his heart. And every time he had a new kid, a new love jet opened up in his heart. So it's not that he has a less of a love for every child. There's just as much love for each child.
Aww.
Isn't that beautiful?
Isn't that sweet?
Isn't that beautiful?
Doesn't that get you right here?
Yeah, it sure does. Everything in the lower source on high.
No, everything down has a source on high.
everything
Everything down
lower
here in the world
has a
has
source that's
on
up high.
That wasn't his mistake. It's a mistake in the writing.
And the supernal source of love for kids by their parents is the same thing of Hashem's love for the Jews. And the source of love of the kids for their parents is the love of Jews for their Father in heaven. Meaning all parents' love for their kids and all kids' love for their parents
Is
sourced
because
in
of the relationship
of
between
Hashem and the Jewish people.
And I have a story about this that I may have told before, but it's such a beautiful, powerful story. I'm going to share it again. I once asked Rabbi Tzvi, who's one of the heroes of the Jewish people, why is it that I love my children with such an essential love? Why isn't it enough that I know they're my kids and I have to take care of them? And they're special for me and I'm special for them. But why such an essential love? Why do my kishkas twist up when the kid falls down and hurts his knee and starts crying? And he thought for a second, he said, because Hashem wants you to know how he loves you. And that illustrates this thing. That down here, the love for a child and the love for a children for the parents is because on high there's a love between Hashem and the Jews and Hashem.
So since the Jews are an only child to the one above, the essential love between a father to a child down here is drawn down from that essential love, and vice versa. This can then be applied to what we say in Mincha of Shabbos, that the Jews are one. They are the one people. Meaning the one and only child.
It can't be applied.
Yeah. Meaning there's no other children.
So it should be Yachid.
Right. So why the one people and not only Yachid?
Why not Yachid?
And the Jews are Hashem's child. They're rooted in Hashem's essence. Just like a child down here is rooted in his father's essence. On high, though, there is no possibility of another child. Because the Jews and the king are alone together by themselves. Therefore, when they are down here in this world, so also down here they are bonded to their source in the essence of Hashem.
So that strengthens the question, why are they not called Goy
It
Yachid?
should really be
The only nation, why are they called Goy Echod, a nation that's part of a counting?
Furthermore, there is not even room for another existence, not even angels.
On the level where
On that
Jews
level,
are
there's,
rooted
yeah,
in
there's,
Hashem,
no, there's no angels.
nothing
even.
else.
So how much more so the other nations? So you can't say that they are in a comparable count, even like, oh, it's a wonder, it's much bigger, it's much greater. You can't say any of that, but rather at that level they're the only. And of course, if they're if they're the only on that level, then when they come down here, they're also the only. So therefore, the question remains: why is you are one? Why is your name is one? And why is the people of Israel, why are they one, as opposed to all of them being Yachid, the only? So to explain the reason and superiority of Echad, why Echad is actually superior. So we have to look at the difference between the metaphors of a light and a name. That there's a metaphor for
These
Hashem.
are metaphors for manifestations of godliness.
Yeah, there's his name and there's his light. And each one has a superior quality. Light is revelation. And light reveals the source of light, the luminary.
And he doesn't say it, but the way I understand, the luminary means the infinite one, the Ein Sof. And the light is called the Or Ein Sof, the infinite light.
The light of his
So the
Ein Sof.
infinite light reveals the infinite one.
Right. On the other hand, the name does not reveal the essential being. Because, for example, you could have 20 Mendels, and they're all different. By the way, most of them are wild. But you could have them. But you could have it still. Even so, amongst Mendels, you could have 5 Shmulis, and they're all completely different. They're different in their intellect, in their emotion, in their personality.
Showing that name is a hidden thing.
But with lights, you can know the luminary, even though it's not of the same quality as the luminary itself.
When you see
the sun,
a ray of the sun,
it
reveals
that the sun. Yeah.
A ray of the moon reveals the moon.
Yeah.
A ray of a candle reveals a candle.
Yeah. So, like for example, but however, by a name, when you call somebody by their name, they turn around.
The person
They turn
himself
around,
turns
yeah.
around.
Yeah. What is this? When somebody faints, is that what it is? When somebody faints, you call their name when they faint,
And they'll
it'll
bring them out of the
it brings
faint.
them out back.
because it their essence turns to the one that's
So
called.
even though you're calling their name, you're not calling their essence. You're calling their name, but the essence turns when you call the name. Whereas the light is not the same thing. When you're sitting in the light of the sun, for example, you're not sitting on the sun. You're not the sun doesn't
Isn't turning to you or
doesn't do anything to you. Yeah. So in the essence of Hashem, there are two dynamics. There is the essence itself, which is higher than the luminary, meaning The infinite one.
Hashem himself, not his infinite manifestation.
Even higher than his infinite manifestation.
Yes. In other words, Hashem, there is the infinite light. And the infinite light reveals that Hashem has a quality of infinitude. But Hashem has a whole bunch of other stuff that is not revealed by the light. And that's the level that's higher than the luminary. Correct.
And the second level is the luminary, that light shines from it. But the essence of Hashem is higher than this.
And how do we connect
with the name
of Hashem? By
calling his name. When we call his name, it reveals the one who was called by the name. Even if the name isn't an actual, a true reflection of his essence, but when you call it, his essence turns to you. It turns around, it turns to you.
I have a...
Except when he doesn't want to.
No, when he might not want to, but you call somebody by name, he turns. Anyway, that's what he's saying here. And he's talking about Hashem. When you call Hashem, and he's going to say that how do Jews call Hashem? By doing Torah and mitzvahs. That's calling his name. But I just want to share this idea of calling a name. It's a very practical thing that the previous Rebbe said, that a chassid who's a chacham means a wise chassid, has a personal meeting with the Rebbe every year. And how does he accomplish it? The previous Rebbe was going to jail, and he was telling the Chassidim how they could have a private meeting with him every year. He said, by imaging yourself in front of the Rebbe. He said, you might think it's an imagination, but it's not. Because if a bad thought takes you to a bad place, how much more a good thought takes you to a good place? And this is the reason I'm bringing it up now, because he says you might think that you have to be a very high-level chassid who's very involved in service of the Hasidic way of life. Like, in other words, a big chassid like Rabbi Reichik, Ola B'Sholem, or Mendel. And the previous Rebbe says, no, to accomplish this thing you don't have to. Because when a little kid calls the king by name, the king turns to him. And that highlights this thing that we're talking about. And the third part of it, he said, and it's not hiskashrus. Hiskashrus means two things are bonded together in a knot. He said it's the vekus, the two things become one. And by imaging yourself in front of the Rebbe, in that instant you will become one with the Rebbe. That's why it's called Yechidus. That's what we're talking about. Yachid, one alone. The Jews alone with Hashem.
Achdus.
Achdus? It's Achdus? I never knew that.
Oh, I don't know. That one, do the Gleiber. All right. Hey, Ashreinu, 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 my Trekkeinu, Ashreinu, Ashreinu, my Hatzvi-Bais. Hey, Ashreinu, 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 my Trekkeinu, Ashreinu, Ashreinu, my Hatzvi-Bais. Oh, my Noim, Geiraleinu. Oh, my Noim, Geiraleinu. Oh, my Noim, Geiraleinu. Oh, my Noim, Geiraleinu. Oh, my yo, Yerushalayim. My yo, Yerushalayim. Oh, my yo, Yerushalayim. Oh, my yo, Yerushalayim. Oh, my Noim, Geiraleinu. Oh, my yo, Yerushalayim. Oh, my Noim, Geiraleinu. Oh, my yo, Yerushalayim. Hey, Ashreinu, 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 So now, to connect the whole thing back to the meaning, we connect the metaphors of the light of the luminary and the name turning the essence to Echad and Yachid, to understand the superiority of one over the only. That which one reveals that the Echad, even though the luminary is a truer reflection, the Yachid is like a truer reflection, but the Echad, how he is in the world, reveals Hashem himself. It reveals him in creation. That it doesn't have the superiority of the revelation, because obviously there's a higher, I guess, a bigger revelation.
And I think what he's saying there in the Mimer is that Echad itself, without the revelation, has a superiority. And the superiority it has is that Hashem wants the creation to be a unified mechanism that is working together to accomplish his desire. So it has a superiority of Yachid because this is what Hashem wants. And since it has that superiority, Hashem is in there while it's happening. But it's not the level of the revelation of name, which is the revelation of Hashem's essence in the creation of Hashem himself in the creation. He wants this world to be a dwelling place for him, not just a world where his desires are being accomplished.
Because Hashem travels 500 years to acquire a name. See, Moshe, you only have to wait 8 days. Hashem traveled 500 years to acquire a name. And the source of the name is higher than the source of the light. But it's hidden. Acquiring a name means that the name will be revealed. At which time both aspects of the essence of Hashem will be unified, meaning the name and the light become unified. And drawing down the essence, then the superiority of the name, right? Because it draws down, it makes he himself turn. But revealed like a light, that it shows the true essence.
Won't be hidden.
Yeah. And this is Mincha of Shabbos. That Mincha of Shabbos expresses Hashem's oneness. You are one, your name is one, and the people of Israel are one nation. Rather than Yachid. Because the revelation of the Ein Sof, Yachid, does not leave any place for worlds to exist. So therefore Hashem hides himself. Tzimtzum, a contraction, to allow for the possibility of worlds, and then so his essence can then be drawn down. How is it drawn down? By his name being called. And how do they call his name, Moshe?
Doing mitzvah Torah.
Yes!
you got it.
Yes, that's it. By learning Torah and doing mitzvahs, exactly.
Way to go, Moshe.
And then he becomes like Shema Yisrael, is Moshe's favorite passage. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. That he becomes one in the Aleph and the Ches Dalid. The one is drawn down into the seven heavens and the earth and the four directions. And the hidden level of his essence becomes revealed. And that's why you are one, because he becomes revealed down here in this world. That the Or Ein Sof is shining.
What's that?
In the Or Ein Sof, the infinite light, shines in the physical world.
So wait. When
On
when's this
Gezintahait
happening?
Street.
Is it like on Gezintahait?
By doing Torah mitzvahs, we call him and he turns to us. And
But the
That light
perfection of it
shines.
will be when Mashiach comes.
That's the reflection of it. This is
No, not a
what you say?
reflection. The
The
revelation.
revelation of it.
Where God's
Okay.
going to be here, living with us, here in this world.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Ain't
yeah,
that gonna
so
be
that's the
a hoot.
so that's by doing Torah mitzvahs, and especially there's also a special time Shabbos afternoon when we say Mincha on Shabbos. We draw down this we call his name. No way,
But
but
there, this is explaining the mimer that the previous Rebbe said on the 9th of Kislev.
yeah.
But then he said a mimer connected to it on the 10th of Kislev.
Oh,
And he said,
I think it's on here.
that's right.
To say it,
And he said that the way that the name becomes revealed, the way Hashem becomes revealed through his name, is by us having Mesiras Nefesh. Meaning to give ourselves away completely for Hashem. So now there's a question. Is the way that Hashem's essence come in through the name, through us doing Torah and
which
mitzvah,
is like we said before.
or through us having Mesiras Nefesh?
It's Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice.
And the self-sacrifice. And our Rebbe answers it by saying in Tanya, it says that the existence of Torah and mitzvahs is always having in mind self-sacrifice.
So the
So
answer
that
is
unifies
yes.
the two things.
The answer is yes.
The answer
Is it Torah mitzvahs or is it Mesiras Nefesh?
Yes.
Yes. So that's like the sort of like the by Mordechai Kimu Mashikiblu, that they finally accept the
finally
Torah
got it.
fully because for the Mesiras Nefesh, something like that.
That could be. I never thought of it, but it sounds good.
What do you got?
By the way, that what you mentioned about the his name will be said like it's written,
Oh,
and it's connected
Yeah,
to
well,
this. I thought it was a
Whoa.
very, very astute.
V'haya Hashem l'melech hayeh, v'yemu Hashem hayeh.
Wait. Explain that.
I will, but
Shortly. Okay, let's have a nigga.
I'm gonna do the trilogy.
Oh!
The trilogy.
We haven't done that for a while.
Don't we do it all the time?
No, we haven't done it for a while though. Yehi Yehi Ratzon Lefanecha Hashem Elokeinu Velekei Aviseinu Oh Tati, oh King, won't you do a good thing? And please return with your people. And the angels all sing, oh glorious King, won't you please return with your people? They made you a crown, won't you come back to town? And please return with your people. Oh, Tati, our king, you know it don't mean a thing unless you please return with your people. Say what every Sami does, me love be your meino. Say just game, never say the echo. Say what every Sami does, me love be your meino. Say just game, never say the echo. Hey, say what every Sami does, me love be your meino. Say just game, never say the echo. Say what every Sami does, me love be your meino.
Remember, kids, gay.
Gay.